All right, so I have tried to do this video on my phone a few times with the screen recorder, and for whatever reason, it doesn't pick up my audio, which I did make sure that I chose use microphone, but nonetheless, we are now on my computer. So uh, this is a photo that I chose to edit for today, and I'm going to probably do a couple other ones before and afters, but this is the one I wanted to kind of walk you through. And I chose this photo because, I really like it. There's, my husband showing my son how to do something. There's some action in there. And then I want you to notice the composition as well, which is if I would have been standing up, my height, which is 5'6", I probably would have gotten, and I would have pointed the camera at them, I probably would have gotten more of their heads and the ground. But because I squatted down, which is one of my main tips for shooting family photos in your home, I was able to capture a lot more of the sky, and it just makes for a better composition. So my main tip is get low, squat down, get on your kid's level. Okay, so let's get into editing the photo. So what I'm showing you here is that you can use the different filters that Instagram gives you. I would say if you are trying to have like a more consistent brand or look, you can start with one of these filters. I don't use them. I start on normal, and then we can work off from there. Okay, so the first thing I use is the brightness. And what I usually do is bring up the brightness, and I'm looking at the face of my subject so that their face is obviously brighter and is, you can see it the most. The next thing is contrast. I like a high contrast photo. If you like a more airy look, then I would probably not move your contrast at all, but I really like to have like those darks come out. The next thing that I do at the very beginning is sharpen my photo. I just think that this makes your photo look very crisp and clean, and it just kind of defines the subject in your photo. All right, highlights. So because the sky kind of lost the definition because I brightened up the photo, I'm going to go ahead and take the highlights and bring them down. And again, that's going to take everything that's kind of in that bright area and that has light in it. It's going to kind of tone it down. And as you can see, it kind of lost a little bit of light on Ethan's face. So I'm going to go ahead and take my shadows and raise the shadows. So it brightens up the shadows and darkens. I usually darken the highlights. Those two things I probably do to most of my photos. Again, if you like more of an airy look, I would probably increase your highlights or leave them alone. But yeah, and that's what I'm showing you there. That's more of like an airy look photo. But yeah, I usually bring down my highlights and increase my shadows. Also, when I increase my shadows, I lost more of that darkness in the blacks. So I usually go back to contrast and increase the contrast a little bit, just depending on if moving my shadows messed it up at all, in my opinion. When I increase my contrast, the saturation of the photo kind of increased a little bit as well. So I brought that down just a tad bit, just so it doesn't look so saturated. And then here, the other thing that I do is warmth. I always increase my warmth because I just like more of that golden tone in my photos. You can kind of see that with the rest of my images that I take for photography. I usually increase the yellows in general, so I always increase my warmth. And I'm just showing you structure is another tool that you can use. This one kind of makes your photos look a little bit more rugged if you increase it way too much. If that's the style you want to go for, that's cool too. I think it's kind of like a manly style. But I usually just bring it up just a tad bit, just again, trying to get that very crisp definition to my subject. But that's if the sharpness isn't as sharp as I want it to. I'll go to structure a little bit. I think that's pretty much what I do to my photos. And so, yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know.